About a couple of weeks ago, this happened. Thank you to the Toastmasters team that invited me to give a keynote at their 400th General Meeting. I couldn't pass this on for a couple of reasons. Come on, it's their 400th General Meeting, so it's a special occasion. I wanted to be a part of it. And the second reason is because I didn't want to pass on the opportunity to speak in front of seasoned speakers and see if I could hold my ground. Seemed exciting. I spoke about a topic that I think is the holy grail of everything that Toastmasters stands for, which is how do you get rid of your stage fear and how do you come across as memorable at work. I just so happened to record this talk. It was a 20 or so minute talk, which I'm going to play next, and sit back and enjoy.
Thank you very much. I have 30 minutes here. 30 minutes. And I'm going to do something that I'm trying to commit to. Every nerve and fiber in my body is asking me not to do this. But I'm having to fight that urge and that temptation within me and do it anyway. I feel a bit messy right now. So for the folks at home, you may not see this, but everybody in the room is chuckling right now because they're having a laugh at my expense. My glasses are all foggy. There's droplets streaming down my spectacles. My hair is wet. So is my lovely sweater. So is my shirt. So now I want to pose a question to you. What do speakers do best? What do speakers do best?
They don't care.
They don't care.
Handle stage fear.
Handle stage fear.
Motivate.
Motivate.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Get out of tricky situations.
Get out of tricky situations. Primarily, we're just attention-loving creatures where in our head something went wrong when we were younger and now we haven't been able to fix it. So we called ourselves speakers. All of us collectively wanted to be rock stars when we were 8 years old, when we were 10 years old, when we were 11 years old and 12 years old. And when we turned 13, we realized you need talent also to become a rock star. वो तो है नहीं. कैसे बने rock star? Plan B. Activate plan B. Let me get into the sports team. Play football, play cricket, and maybe then everybody will shout my name. उसके लिए भी talent चाहिए. वो तो है नहीं. तो अब क्या करें? We decided to do the easiest thing possible. It requires no talent. We do it every single day. We communicate every single day. We decided कि इसको stage पे चला देते हैं and we'll call this our newest talent. Public speaking. What is a flower? A flower is nothing but a weed with an advertising budget, right? Because it has these petals, it has these vivid colors, it's vibrant, it's out there in your face. It's trying to grab the attention of the honeybees. Why? Because the honeybees think this weed is trying so hard to attract me, it's trying so hard to draw my attention, it must have something of value. And vividness, colorful petals, all of these are just a proxy for having nectar. And honeybees, well, they go visit once, and if they find nectar, they keep visiting over and over and over again. A flower is a weed with an advertising budget. And this isn't a story about flowers or honeybees. It's a story about us. We put ourselves out there. I tried this antic of putting water on my head, and all of you could have been disgusted for a second, but you chose to chuckle and make my act feel like it worked. Okay? And I feel good about it. And I feel like my advertising trick worked. Because whether or not I deliver a shit performance today, all of you will remember that there was a clown who walked in and poured water on his head. That's one thing you will remember no matter what. Right? That's your takeaway from the session. That's the bare minimum. So I've captured your attention. That's what public speaking is about. That's what communication is about. We're trying to proxy value. We're trying to proxy that we have something valuable to say, but unless people have heard it, they don't know you have something valuable to say. So we do these tricks to come across as valuable. And if we don't, important messages, if you have important messages to communicate, they just never get communicated. Perhaps a solution to the clean energy problem that we're all, grappling with. Perhaps the solution to the EV problem that we're grappling with. Climate change. Have you seen news channels where an environmental activist is invited on the show? I think the environmental change is a real problem. You don't care. You need important information to be advertised well in order to care. That's how we're wired. If we are wired that way and we know it, why don't we make best use of it? The problem we're dealing with is memorability. You do an act, you show up in front of people, you go to a party, do people remember you? If people don't remember you, you've lost in the evolutionary race. If people don't remember you, the next time you meet them, you again have to introduce, Sir, hum us party mein mile the. It's such an exhaustive charade that we have to put up with every time. And evolutionary speaking, it's just not efficient. It's just not efficient. So if we are dealing with memorability, if memorability and being memorable is such an obvious thing that we must do it, why don't we do it anyway? Because it's a double-edged problem, right? We know what's right, but we also don't want to be the only one doing it. We live in a world of mind-numbing conformity. We want to do what the next person's do. We don't want to be the odd one out. It's scary, right? We're pack animals. We're social beings. Our brain is not evolved to want to stand out, because every time we try to stand out, our brain, our reptilian brain that sits below our evolved brain, we have two brains, the reptilian brain and the evolved brain, the hardware pack that evolved in the last 1,000 years, it's far more advanced than the primitive one that sits underneath. The primitive one that sits underneath overrides the logical brain and says, don't do anything different, you're being separated from the pack, and that means danger. Because being separated from the pack 1,000 years ago meant certain death. It's no surprise then that public speaking tops the list of fears in the world. There's a list of fears in the world that you should go look up. Number 2 is death. Number 1 is public speaking. That's absurd, right? I'm not making this up. You can go look it up. How can public speaking be scarier than death itself? It's bizarre. I give you 2 options. You can either be different or you can conform. And let's talk about the pros and cons of both. You can be different. What's the pro? The pro is if you pull it off, people will remember you. The next time, you don't have to introduce yourself when you walk into a room. If you had important things to say, people would have remembered it, and next time, it's a compounding effect for opportunities. Opportunities, just like money, just like relationships and love, compound over time. Reputation compounds over time. The same happens to you if you're different. It will compound over time. Your recall value will exponentially shoot up to the point where you no longer have to send people LinkedIn requests. People will send you LinkedIn requests. The con, if you don't pull it off, you come across as silly and nobody wants to be your friend. But it's an acceptable risk to take according to me. And the rest of the talk, I'm going to convince you also that it is an acceptable risk to take. Not necessarily pour water on your head the way I did, but maybe do something different. The second, not being different by conforming. What do you do well? You signal to everybody else that you're not a threat. So you can get along with them. You can be great friends. Everybody's going to say, oh, Preeti is my friend. Or Preeti is amazing. You know what? Preeti is such a sweet gal. But then if you're different, people sort of envy you. And if you're different and you're good, people sort of envy you. And it doesn't help you necessarily make friends. But that's a decision you have to take, a trade-off you have to make. That's a pro, right? You can get along, you're likable, you get along with everybody. You won't piss people off. But the con is that you just don't have enough recall value. You're sort of lost in the mind-numbing conformity that exists in the world. I told you about the pros and cons of standing out versus the pros and cons of conforming. That's a decision for you to make. But if you made the decision that I made today by pouring a glass of water on my head and choose to be different, then here are 5, I wouldn't say tips. I hate the word tips or advice or I'm nobody to be giving you advice. I'm just sharing experiences about what's worked for me. Okay? And I even made a small list so I don't forget any of the 5 points. This is something I scribbled while I sat waiting for people to walk in. The first one is you're not important. You are not important. Evolutionarily, you want to be important, you want to be reckoned with, but you are not. Look around, look to the person to your left, person to your right, the folks at home, I don't know. Look at the mirror and feel lonely. You're not important. If you got in trouble, if you messed up, people won't remember you, or neither will they care. That time you embarrassed yourself in a meeting, nobody remembers it. Apart from you, and you will remember it for 10 more years and keep yourself up at night. But that's wasted energy, inefficient. So if you remind yourself enough that you are nothing but a blip in the universe and you have nothing of significance to contribute ever, and approach it with a nihilistic attitude and say that it's all fair game, nothing matters, it's a bit existential, but it's also oddly liberating. You feel you can go and experiment and play around. And that's all I want to tell you. You are not that important. So how do you make yourself important? And it's something that Quentin Tarantino said, one of my favorite filmmakers. He said, make the movie that has never been made. That is the purpose of your existence. And that is the purpose of every single time you communicate on a platform, because attention is something we mustn't take for granted. If you want to say something that's already been said, or somebody else has said it, you want to rephrase it, it's an insult to the audience who comes to listen to you. Tell the story that's never been told before. And the second one is find an ally. We live, despite all we tell ourselves, we live in a toxic world where envy is paramount, where people want you to succeed, but not at their cost, where people want you to do well, but not better than them. In that case, finding allies and seeking allies is truly of most significance. Remember the last time you posted an article on LinkedIn and your friend said, "Hey, kya article likh raha hai re tu?" Remember you posted that YouTube video or you posted something on, and somebody said, "So what are you trying to do really?" That's not an ally. That's the opposite of an ally. And don't tell me that you haven't found an ally, because that is truly just arrogant of you, and it just means you never tried. If you haven't found an ally, and you can't find an ally in a 75,000 people big company, I don't know what the latest number is. 86? Okay. In a company as large as this, I will be your ally. I will be your ally. Just reach out to me, I'll help you out. Find an ally who can be your sounding board and who can help you do uncomfortable things. The second one. The third one. Why do we love PPTs so much? Why?
Because we like seeing things in front of us than just hearing them out.
Okay. Any other answers? I think the PPT does the same thing that this glass is doing for me. I don't know what to do with my hands right now. So holding a glass makes me comfortable. When I'm at a bar, clubbing, if I have nothing in my hands, I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? But if I have a glass in my hands, it's so much more easier to, you know what I mean? You look so much more sociable. You're not awkward all of a sudden because your hands have something to do. In meetings, PowerPoint presentations play a very similar role for you. It's intimidating to just be there on camera and to just have everything to do on your own. So you offset the responsibility by having a PowerPoint presentation, and in case stuff goes badly, you can just say the PPT wasn't up to the mark. Because you don't like saying you weren't up to the mark. That's all it is. It's insurance cover. For a speaker, a PowerPoint presentation is insurance cover, nothing else. I mean, if you really have to present executive updates, then that's a different thing. But if I came here with a PowerPoint presentation today to tell you, to have a heart-to-heart conversation with you, all right, I'm going to go to my girlfriend and say, here are 10 reasons why I love you. Slide number 1. That doesn't make sense, right? Doesn't make sense. But have a prop anyway if you feel that speaking up makes you freak out, if your hands shiver, if your legs are quaking, and if you don't know what to do with your arms and legs, have props. Anything, any prop, preferably not your phone. A glass, a PowerPoint presentation, a friend to talk to. Do you know why leaders prefer panel discussions? Because speaking solo is intimidating. Having a chat with somebody, piece of cake. So you're objectifying your moderator and saying, that's my prop. That's what it is. That's actually what it is. So use a prop. And the fourth thing I'm going to tell you, actually I don't need the piece of slip for the fourth one, which is, what is the first thing I did when I walked in here today? I mean, I didn't need to do it. But Preeti remembers this, and then Ronak remembers this. I just had a chat.
You got to know the audience.
I got to know the audience. That's another way of insurance cover for me. Because, people that know you hesitate to belittle you. Right? People that know you, even if they know your name, they know how old you are, they know you're a real person. Until we speak, we're not real. Have you ever traveled in a metro? And you see there's 600 people in the metro, and you don't see any of them as human beings. You see them as objects trying to fight for the seat.
Yes, absolutely.
They're not human beings. They're not real. Until somebody comes and says, "Beta, मैं थोड़ा बैठ जाऊँ, मैं 70 साल का हूँ." And then you go, my granddad's age. बैठ जाइए uncle. That's all it is. When you speak and break ice with the audience before the event starts, that's insurance that maybe they get to know you, maybe they're more sensitive towards you. If you screw up, they excuse you. An audience is incredibly forgiving if you're not arrogant. That's number 4. And the fifth one is the most interesting one, and I'm going to spend most of my time speaking about this fifth one. The fifth one, once the person speaking at home mutes, the fifth one is very counterintuitive, and it's something that, by the way, this chit is playing the role of my prop right now. Just letting you in on my thoughts. It's a statement that William Dafoe made. William Dafoe is the person who played the villain in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man. Right? What is that character's name?
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin, yeah. Green Goblin, William Dafoe, love the actor. He's more of a doctor of acting than an actor. You should just listen to him and his podcast of him talking about acting. And it's therapeutic, the amount of dedication he puts towards his art. And somebody asked him, if there's a role that you're uncomfortable with, what do you do? How do the greats do it? And quote unquote, he said, try to be bad. Try to fail. Try to do an awful job and see what it's like. Try to do a bad painting. Try to sing badly. Hopefully not in front of others. I know there are singers in the audience. One of my friends is here in the audience, is a brilliant singer. So if I try to sing badly in front of her, she is going to walk out, even though she's my friend. Try to do badly. And the reason is that we're all, no matter how lazy you are, we all have a certain sense of drive to succeed. We want to be good. We want to be amazing. And that drive to succeed is great in 9 situations out of 10. But the 10th situation where it really creeps up on you and chokes you is when the drive to succeed and drive to be perfect is so strong that it immobilizes you. And the perfect example I can give you is when you were writing that 10-mark question when you were in school and you knew the answer, yet you did not know how to start. Your pen, it was on the same spot. There were several dots on the same spot because you were trying to think, and then you wrote a sentence, you scratched it out, you wrote another sentence. You know what I mean? You've been there? Everybody's been there. That's what striving to succeed means when you just choke up. When you choke up, do badly. It's okay. Write a bad song. Give a bad presentation. Try to do the worst you can. It's oddly freeing.
Sadly, that's where the camera stopped rolling. I forgot to charge my camera to 100% and the battery just ran out. But you got most of what I had to say. Only the last 2 minutes where I was giving my concluding notes was sort of cut out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below.